Hello and welcome to #Goals the Show. I am your host, Michelle Moses. Joining me here today is Yaffa from San Diego, California.
Hi.
She is a motivational speaker and Torah educator. You can follow Yaffa at Yaffa on Instagram. She is super fun. I love your Insta stories, by the way.
Thank you.
Always with a smile, always energetic. It's like a great way to start off my day, honestly. I just really enjoy it. It's a shame that you're 3 hours behind because I catch you in the afternoon when it's your morning. You're originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Yes.
And why, I guess we know why San Diego because the weather is just perfect there. But why San Diego?
I wish I made my choices based on weather,
Right.
based on where I want to live. What's easy would have been for me to just stay here in New York, marry a guy from New York,
Right.
live here where my family and friends are, where my life is. But I married my husband who was originally from Mexico.
Oh, wow.
We moved to Israel when we first got married, where he got his smicha. We lived there for 7 years. That also wasn't an easy decision. I left my whole family and everyone I knew, all my jobs, all my everything. We had to make another decision, whether to stay in Israel, where we finally found our place. It took a while.
Right, yeah.
Finally found our places, and I feel like I was using probably about 75% of my strengths, but there were places in other communities around the world where they really needed to learn more about Torah.
Yeah.
And my husband had an extra gift that he speaks Spanish fluently.
Yes.
So we figured we need to go somewhere to a Spanish-speaking community where he can use his talents and strengths over there.
That's very interesting.
So we ended up in Mexico.
Wow.
I'm getting to San Diego. We'll get there soon.
Wow. No, I like
It's a long
this journey.
process.
Yeah, but that's
a long
interesting that you made your decisions based on how to influence people and help people.
When I dated my husband, he had visions and dreams and goals that were completely in sync with my own.
Wow.
But yet, I found that I couldn't connect with him emotionally. I didn't allow myself to connect emotionally because I knew that if I were to marry him, nothing in my life was going to be the same ever again.
It's a big leap.
It's a big leap. I would have to say goodbye to. I knew that we couldn't live in New York. There was nothing for him in New York. He's Sephardic, I'm Ashkenazi. I was going to have to get rid of all my Ashkenazi everything and completely change around to Sephardi. Even languages were different. Like everything was just going to be different. So it was a hard decision to make. So it started at that point where I had to already make this decision.
Wow.
Will I choose what's easy? It would be so easy for me to say, bye, Felicia. But I said, but I knew that this was where God was sending me. We finally get to Mexico, and it was a very, very hard adjustment for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and I was so idealistic. I'm like, sure, we'll move to Mexico. I like tacos, you know.
How's your Spanish now?
Now I'm fluent. I lost my entire sense of self. I lost my whole identity.
Yeah.
I remember I told you I was using like maybe 75 or 80% of my strengths before I moved there.
Right.
And now I get there and I'm in the negatives. I couldn't speak to anyone.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we moved there and my husband is the rabbi of a community and I'm the rebbitzin of this community and I'm 27 years old. No one speaks English, but yet I have to be the rebbitzin. So I kind of felt like this social butterfly who had her wings cut off. I must admit that it allowed me to really develop my relationship with Hashem, because he was the only one I would talk to. And I grew up but I don't know if I grew up actually talking to Hashem. You know,
It's a different level, that spiritual connection.
Exactly.
Because you can do all the right things and dress the right way and talk the right way, but that connection between you and God, it's so personal. Like there's no right way to do that. Everyone has their own way of connecting.
It's an amazing part of the growth process.
Yes. Yeah, it's like it's just a very different part about being religious. It's not on the outside, it's totally for yourself.
That was basically how I was developing my own relationship. It was kind of like, okay, God, it's just you and me now. Yeah. We're in this together. I also had to get my children adjusted to school, a school in which I could not communicate to anyone.
It sounds daunting, honestly.
It's hard. And I get an email from a friend of mine in Israel. And she said, in the merit of a refuah shalema for so-and-so, I want to invite everybody to join me in a tanis dibor, a fast of speech. No speaking for an entire day, in the merit of this and this person. And I read this email, and I burst into tears, and I said, no speaking for an entire day? I haven't spoken in weeks. This person should be completely healed by now. That's when I realized I haven't spoken to anyone. And remember, I'm an extrovert, and I'm very social. I could either spend the rest of my life crying over the person I was, or I could recreate a new person. And I said, I am no longer a complete extrovert, but I'm not either a complete introvert, and I decided that I'm an ambivert. I went from identifying as somebody who's part of a frum community to being someone who no longer identified as being in a frum community, but yet I didn't fit into the secular community either. I went from being Ashkenaz to Sephardic all of a sudden. But so I no longer fit completely into Ashkenaz world, because now I don't say Good Shabbos, everything is Shabbat Shalom, and I changed my Havara and I changed my everything. But yet I didn't become Sephardic. I still don't fit in with the Sephardic culture either. Right? I was no longer American, and I didn't know all the new American trends and the new American. I missed an entire decade of American music. Like I just was completely out of the American world, but yet I didn't fit in the Mexican world either. So I was sitting here like juggling, you know. I also no longer spoke English. There was no one to speak English to, but yet I still couldn't speak Spanish. Who decided that I have to fit into a box that was already set? Who said that I have to live my life in the boxes that were set for me previously? Just because I grew up in a certain box, why does it have to be my box for the rest of my life? Nobody gets to determine my identity but me. I went from thinking that I am in no man's land to realizing that I am in every man's land. My identity doesn't have to be the fact that I don't fit into any of these categories, but rather it's the fact that I could fit in a little bit to each one of these categories. How many people can actually fit in to every one of those places? Ashkenazi world, Sephardi world, secular world, frum world, American, Mexican. And I realized that that's when I created my new identity. Want to hear what it is?
I would love to hear what it is.
I decided that I am tofu.
Oh.
I just pick up the flavor of whatever you cook me with.
I love that. That's amazing.
And that was my breakthrough.
That's a great message. That's amazing.
I decided that I can use email as this resource, and I started sending out a Dvar Torah, which was a win-win because I was able to teach Torah. And I was also able to connect with people. And at this point I was thinking, maybe somebody will write back and I'll have some communication with people. I was reading Parshas Lech Lecha. I noticed that it says Lech Lecha twice, not just once. We all think the famous Lech Lecha that Abraham left. He left everything behind him and he went. So that's the first Lech Lecha. And the second time it says Lech Lecha is when he was bringing his son Yitzchak up to the Akedah. The first Lech Lecha, Hashem was telling him, leave your past behind you. And then he said to him, now I'm going to throw you a curveball. You thought you were just supposed to leave your past behind and you can walk towards your future and you can, continue leading the life you were leading and you'll have a wonderful future. And now I'm telling you, now you have to get rid of your future too. Which was an incredibly
very interesting,
eye-opening insight to me. And Hashem was telling me, he was saying, Yaffa, I saw how you really tried to serve me when you lived in New York, when you lived in Israel. I saw how you served me when you were in your comfort zone. Now let me see you serve me when I take all that away from you. And as soon as I realized that, I stood up, put my hands on my hips, and I'm like, really, God? Game on. It's on. And that was when I realized I need to create a whole new identity for myself. Now, October 2015, Shabbos Project. Okay, I'm teaching Parshas Lech Lecha, and here I am standing in front of 300 people. And I looked around the room and I said, I'm about to teach getting out of your comfort zone. And I was going to talk a little bit about my own personal struggle with getting out of my comfort zone. I said, and here I am speaking about getting out of your comfort zone. I am going to do this in Spanish. And it was a split-second decision.
Wow.
A split-second decision.
That's a big decision, though.
And it wasn't just a class of 10 people. It was in front of 300 people. 3 months later, we get a phone call from San Diego.
I see where this is going.
Right, you see where I'm going with this, right? From Aish International wants to open up an Aish branch in San Diego.
Wow.
And they wanted my husband and I to rent it.
Wow.
We were not looking for a job.
No, I'm sure.
We were there. My husband was the rabbi of a community of 5,000 people.
Wow.
He had created programs and projects. We had already created an entire community of young families who had become Shomer Shabbos, living near us, around the shul. He created programs that had hundreds of kids learning Torah every week, hundreds of adults learning Torah every week. It was a moment where we once again had to choose between doing what's easy or doing what's right. I still never felt 100% that Mexico was my home, it was still so much easier to stay there.
Like you had finally accepted that teaching offer, like you were finally like getting into it, and then this new opportunity came up, which that timing is also very interesting to factor in, because had you stayed in Mexico, you probably would have maybe fully found your comfort zone there.
We decided that במקום שאין איש, תשתדל להיות איש. That where there's something lacking or someone lacking, go be that person that's not there, that's missing. So we had to do that, and it's been really hard. It's been a very big adjustment. I mean, I'm happy there because this Target. We're trying to build a whole community here. We want to create, more, not just Jewish awareness, but we want to create Jewish living.
Yeah.
We want to have kosher stores and kosher supermarkets and do Deiga stores. We want to create a place where people can move to, because I know many people want to leave New York and want a beautiful place to live in. We just need a good place to go. So we're going to create a city where you can come live.
Okay, awesome. I'll be there. I'll pack my bags right now.
The reason why I'm so happy I developed this relationship with Hashem that I did is because we're completely in His hands right now. I mean, you always are, but I know I'm living my life like that right now. I don't know if we're going to be successful.
I feel like you said, you don't know what's going to happen. This could not work, but you really don't know until you try. And how many people don't do something because they're afraid it won't work? So I know it could only grow from here. I really have full faith in that.
Can I get an amen?
Viewers at home.
Living in San Diego, I realize as hard as it is, anything I do there is 100% needed, because there's almost nothing there.
Right, exactly.
So you feel like there's so much to do, and you feel like you're the one who has to do it.
Yeah.
So on one hand, it's exciting.
Sure.
On the other hand, it's scary.
Of course.
Like I really think my biggest fear in life is unfulfilled potential. And I feel like I've been put in places where I need to use, Hashem is telling me, you can do this, and which means I have the potential to do it.
Yaffa, we got to learn a lot about you today on this episode, and I wanted to learn about you just a little more with a game.
Sure,
that I call, yeah, right? Ooh, fun.
Fun.
I call this game Either Or. Do you prefer hot coffee or iced coffee?
Iced coffee, hands down.
Yes. Which one is your favorite?
Yeah. Can I look it up? I have it written down. I say,
that's so funny.
Good morning, ma'am. May I please have an iced coconut milk mocha macchiato decaf light ice, please?
Oh my God, I love that. Are you a side sleeper or a back sleeper? Or a stomach sleeper?
I was just gonna say, what about a stomach sleeper?
Yeah.
So I used to be a stomach sleeper, but then I realized I'm gonna have to spend a lot of money on Botox.
Right?
Suddenly realized it's either Botox or become a back sleeper.
Back sleeper for the win. Heels or flats?
I love how heels look. Love it. Hate how they feel.
Do you prefer scrambled eggs or an omelet?
I guess it depends. The Mexican side of me likes scrambled eggs in a tortilla. I like omelets too. How does one decide?
Mexico or San Diego?
Ooh. Well, overall, San Diego, for sure.
If you agree that Yaffa is #goals, then please be sure to like this video, leave some lovely comments down below, and be sure to subscribe for more episodes of #goals the show. We're done! Yay!